All right, this lesson is dealing with triangle midsegments. A midsegment of a triangle is a segment connecting the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. In the example over here, we know that DE is the midsegment. We can see because each side is cut in half congruently. So in this example, DE is your midsegment. If a segment joins the midpoints of the two sides of a triangle, then the segment is parallel to the third side and is half as long. So if you check out the example, this piece right here is going to be half as long as the base AC. Use the diagram above. DE is a midsegment of triangle ABC. I know that DE is parallel to AC, and I know that DE, which is your midsegment, is equal to 1/2 of that base AC. So once again, this midsegment is half as long as the base AC. A couple examples. So number one says identify all pairs of parallel segments. There's three of them. First guy I'll pluck off, I'll do XY. That's going to be parallel to QS. Another one, WY is parallel to QR. And the last one, XW is parallel to RS. Same thing on number two. JK is parallel to FH. KL is parallel to GF. And last one, JL is parallel to GH. Number three, we got to label some stuff and we'll figure out the measurements here. Says if L, M, and N are the midpoints of the sides of triangle PQR, P to R is 46. P to Q is 40. And L to N is 17. So this piece right here is 17. All right, first up, LM. So LM is the midsegment right here. Remember, that is half as long as the base. So the base is 46. Half of that would be 23. MN right here, that's half as long as this base. So if the base is 40, half of that would be 20. QR is the base for this midsegment. So remember, we have to double the midsegment to get the base. So 17 times 2, 34. And last one, MR. So I know this entire base over here was 34, right? And each of those are congruent. So if I cut this in half, each of these would be 17. So MR is 17. Same thing in 4. F to G is 9. G to H is 7. C to D, all of this is 24. And then we can answer some questions. C to E. So CE is this piece right here. Its midsegment is 7, so double that to get 14. D to E is this base over here. Its midsegment is 9, so if I double that 9, that would give me 18. F to H, its base is 24, so if I cut that in half, that gives me 12. And the perimeter of the big triangle on the outside, if I add up all of these guys on the outside, that gives me 56. Number 5, find the value of x. Remember, I have to double the midsegment and equal it to the base. So I got to times this guy by 2, then equal it to that. So 2 times 7x is 17x minus 18. That gives me 14x. I'll subtract 17x from both sides. Divide both sides by -3, and we get 6. Same thing over here. I got to double the midsegment, equal it to the base. So if I distribute that 2, that would give me 12x plus 62 is 19x minus 36. Subtract 12x. add 36. That gives me 98. Divide both sides by 7, and x is 14. Next page. Number 7 and 8, same thing. We got to double the mid-segment, equal it to the base. So distribute that 2. That gives me 8x plus 2 equals the base, 11x minus 25. I'll subtract 8x from both sides. I'll add 25. Divide by 3, and we get 9. But it wants DE, so I got to take that 9, and I got to plug it back in. If I do that, that gives me 37. Number 8, same thing. We got to double the mid-segment, equal it to the base. So that would give me 30x minus 34 is the base, 23x minus 6. I'll subtract 23x from both sides. Add 34 to both sides. And then divide by 7. That gives me 4. Our job is to find RT. Plug it back in. That gives us 86. MN, NO, MO are the mid-segments. Find the perimeter of JKL. All right. So let's find, we got to find this length, got to find that length, and then I got to figure out what X is and get that guy. So let's find X first. Remember, I just got to double the mid-segment, equal it to the base. So 12X minus 2 is 13X minus 10. I'll subtract 12X from both sides. Add 10 to both sides. X is 8. So I plug that back in right there. That is going to give me 94. All right, the other pieces. If I double 42, this gives me 84. If I double 49, that gives me 98. So the perimeter of JKL, add up all 3 pieces. That's going to give us 276. The next section, we got to remember, we got to talk about some like consecutive interior angles. We have to talk about supplementary, corresponding, all that stuff from, I believe it was chapter 2. So we'll kind of go through these ones real quick here. Finding all the missing angles. I think I'll do angle 2 first here. Remember, angles on a straight line have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 127, that's going to give me 53. So angle 2 is 53. Let's see here. Moving on. If I look at number 5 here, these guys are consecutive interiors. Remember, these guys have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 59, angle 5 would be 121. These guys are supplementary, 5 and 4. If I take 180 minus 121, angle 4 would be left with 59 degrees. Okay, finding angle 3. Angles inside of a triangle have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 and I subtract these 2 off, angle 3, I'm left with 68 degrees. Big triangle. This angle, that angle, and this angle have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 and I subtract off these 2 right here, angle 1, you're left with 53 degrees. 11, same thing, so a little more practice. Let's find angle 1 first. Remember these 2? These are a linear pair. They have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 118, angle 1 would be 62. Looking at the small triangle, all 3 of these angles have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 and subtract off the 95 and the 62, that is left with 23 degrees. These guys make a linear pair, angles 2 and 3. So if I take 180 minus the 23, angle 3 is 148. These guys are consecutive interiors, which means I have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 148, angle 4 we're left with, let's see here, 32. Over here, these guys, once again, are consecutive interiors. If I take 180 minus the 118, that leaves me with 62 degrees. Number 12. These guys are corresponding angles, which means they're congruent. So all I have to do is set them equal to each other. So I take 10x minus 11 equal that to 7x plus 4. Subtract 7x. Add 11. Divide by 3. Answer's 5. These two angles right here are consecutive interiors. So that means they add up to 180. So this guy plus that guy equals 180. So if I add them up, I have 16x. 2 and negative 30 is negative 28. That equals 180. I'll add the 28 to both sides. So 16x is 208. Divide that by 16. X is 13. 14. These guys are corresponding angles, which means they are congruent. So we'll set them equal to each other. Then we'll solve for x and we'll plug it back in and get that angle. So 9x plus 2 equals 15x minus 52. Subtract 9x. Add 52 over. Divide by 6. X is 9. Plugging it back in to find angle CBF, which would be that guy right there. That comes out to be 83 degrees. This angle on number 15 corresponds with this guy right here. So this is the same thing as here, right? Angles on a straight line make a linear pair and they have to add up to 180. So if I take this angle, which is this, add it with that guy, that has to equal 180. So combining like terms, I have 7x. 1 and 4 is 5, equals 180. Subtract the 5 over, 7x is 175. 7 goes in there 25 times. Find angle RTV. RTV, this guy right here. Plugging that in, that gives me 29 degrees. That's it for triangle midsegments.